What's going on, Whisper Nation? It is Monday, June 14th, and you are joining us for another mock draft. This week, we got a 14-team PPR Superflex joined by Stepmom Lauren. Let's get to it.
Right here.
There we go. Johnny Travis, of course, happy to see you, but who cares? Stepmom Lauren, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you guys doing today?
We're great. I mean, he's not wrong. We don't care about us. I mean, the real star is here. A Star is Born is not just a movie. It's when we're with Stepmom Lauren, and we appreciate you being here.
I just love you guys.
You guys are funny.
What's going on, Stepmom Lauren? How you been?
Good, busy. We're really good. Currently, I'm sorry, Whisper Nation, everyone who's watching or listening, my cat is in my office because it may thunderstorm. So he hasn't decided yet what he wants to do with his life. So if he just randomly makes an appearance, fear not. I know he's in here. It's not a random monster that's come to try to kill me, although he looks very frightening.
Speaking of O'Reilly, who's O'Reilly? That's your cat, right?
Yeah, so my cat is O'Reilly, but he's not named after the auto parts store for anyone wanting to know. Although the jingle is fabulous, just add meow at the end instead of ow at the end.
Oh,
but he is named,
I
know, right? Yeah, not good. But he is named after my favorite hockey player, Ryan O'Reilly from the St. Louis Blues.
How about that? I know you're a big St. Louis Blues fan.
Huge fan. Too bad they're not in the playoffs, but whatever.
Pour one out for them, but they made it through.
Thank you.
And Whisper Nation, if you haven't done yourself a favor already and liked and followed and gotten connected to Stepmom Lauren and all the incredible platforms she's producing content are on, what are you waiting for? You can go ahead and catch her here. She is a writer, analyst, podcaster, and you can catch her on the Fantasy Footballers, the NBC Sports Edge, formerly known as Roto World, the Fantasy Pros, the Football Guys, your storyteller, prophesizer.
Yeah,
all kinds of good stuff.
I consult my crystal ball. Yeah, you guys can find me right there. Stepmom Lauren. It's very consistent.
Well, thank you again.
Brilliant.
And Whisper Nation, thanks for jumping in here for another mock draft. As we said at the top of the show, we're doing a 14-team PPR Superflex mock draft. We're going to have the four of us here draft, and I'm just going to be talking about it. Make sure you keep your questions in the chat coming. We'll do our best to get to all of them. Johnny, is there anything I'm leaving off before we get this thing started here?
No, this is what Stepmom Lauren. She is going to be picking the winner. So make sure you guys are on your best drafting behavior today, because she is going to pick the team that she likes the most, and the winner will get a spot in the listener league. So a lot on the line today. But this is the actual format that we will do for the listener league. So 14-team PPR Superflex. There's also a flex spot as well in there, so make sure you check that out. And 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. All right, you guys ready?
We are ready. And Travi, is there anything? I know Travi would be remiss if I did not say we already got 15 folks watching right now. And if you like, we got 7 thumbs up. That's half of you. Y'all are the real ones right now. If you're here in the beginning this early on, go ahead, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button. Allow this channel to grow. Keeps us doing what we absolutely love doing. Travis, am I missing anything here?
Well, you talk about numbers, 15 people watching. We need some more likes in there. We also hit 1.5 thousand followers on YouTube over the weekend. So just want to say a shout out to everybody on YouTube. You guys continue to help me and Johnny and Austin and Stepmom Lauren even chase after this dream. We do it for the people that are out there. I mean, I think Stepmom Lauren would agree with that. It's all about this community that we've found within this realm of fantasy football. That's why we really play. And then that's why we really give the advice. So thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Here.
Wait a second. You're telling me I have been deceived this whole time by Herm Edwards? He said we always play to win the game. Now you're telling me it's only about the community? Unreal.
Believe it or not, Johnny, winning the game is getting to have all of these heart-to-heart, intimate conversations where I tear my hair out of it at the end of the conversation. That is the real win.
Yeah.
I get to stick with you. The rest of these ones here. But I want to ask Stepmom Lauren, where are you ranking the top of the draft right now? I know this is a PPR Superflex. So in both of a Superflex, we'll stick with this one first. Are you leaning more towards grabbing your quarterback early on and maybe having an anchor QB, or do you kind of like to wait and see? Do you have a strategy you come into this with early on, or where do you kind of take a look at this?
Well, this is pretty tough here because the quarterbacks that I would take the risk on and take early are all off the board. So I picked the 7th spot because this is one of the more challenging spots to draft from, no matter what format that you're in at all. So I really like mock drafting from this spot so that I can really get a feel, no matter, like I said, what format that I'm playing, what I can get a feel for what is the trends are and where the trends are going. So the ones that I really, really liked were Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. They went off the board. And I mean, Dak Prescott is, I think, even a bit of a reach for me, but this is a super flex. Always remember that. I don't play in a lot of super flex leagues. I'm usually a single QB one. So it's not really my comfort zone playing in a super flex, but there are a lot of later round guys that I'm okay with targeting. And I did not want to let Dalvin Cook pass me by. So I went with him.
There we go. I love
Dalvin Cook. I was hoping he would fall to me, but
no, sir, he's mine.
No, Lauren, do you see, because we've been kind of talking about this, do you see generally just in the industry more of a push towards super flexes, or is the one quarterback roster still king?
You know, I've seen both. Although I do feel like Superflex is becoming a lot more popular. I feel that for the leagues that are just coming in now, I feel like Superflex is the standard. But for leagues that have been around for several years or longer, I feel like that's a single QB. So it's hard to really kind of gauge. It might be 50-50 at this point, when before I would have been like, nah, Superflex is rare. But no, like now I feel like new leagues starting are PPR Superflex, and that's just points, and more points, which is fun. I'm in leagues where we score lots and lots and lots of points. It's insanity the amount of points that we score. And it is a lot of insanity to be a part of, too.
It's just kind of a good question. I like to ask other analysts what their favorite format is. An ideal one. I know there could be a couple, but what is your favorite format, Stepmom?
My favorite, I do like PPR. I like PPR a lot. If that's the one I'll stick with. I am in a home league that is my absolute favorite way of scoring, but it is impossible to prepare for. The quarterbacks score so many points that if you do not have an elite guy, you cannot compete. Now, when I say a lot of points, I mean, you need to be scoring at least 60 points just for your quarterback or more if you want to be competitive in this league. Now, the bonuses that they get are pretty unreal. So the way we have our settings is off the charts, but he wanted it to really be just like a real NFL team where the quarterback is the most important person on the field. So that's exactly what our fantasy team is. So it's funny that it's still considered standard. It's not a point per reception, but we get a point for 10 yards. We get a point for a first down. It's absolutely insane, the amount of scoring. So that one is the most wild, but I think my favorite is PPR because I feel like I can find better gems in PPR as opposed to a standard, because I feel like the wide receiver position has a lot of depth when it comes to guys that you can get way late that may hit a little bit better in PPR than they would in the quote non-PPR formats.
Right. It's almost like kind of the media doesn't care as much about receptions as they do total yards. So someone who's breaking 1,000 yards is going to be a mainstay in that conversation, but somebody who's getting 100 catches but only like 700 or 800 yards isn't going to be on that same level. Right. Yeah. Corey Davis or whomever. John, you took Jalen Hurts there in the second. Is he going to be who we hope and think he might be, given what he showed us in his small sample size at the end of last year?
I do believe that he will be a really good quarterback. I think he has the Konami code of the rushing ability. He also can pair that with the fact that he can throw. They got better receivers in there for him or better weapons. We'll see if Zach Ertz stays. So that'll be something interesting. But I was doing a lot more research over the weekend. We're trying to, prepare our draft kit and stuff. And one thing I did notice that I like a lot is that Jalen Hurts' first 5 games are actually like really, really good. They're really good matchups for quarterbacks. Now it is early in the season. Of course, we haven't even gone through, preseason or anything. So their injuries could happen. So that could change a little bit. But overall, you like to start off in a, start off really, really well. And Jalen Hurts looks to be that guy to me.
I want him so bad to work out. I'm just nervous about paying that price for him. It's like he has to do what we expect for him to do at that spot. Are you on the Jalen Hurts bandwagon, Stepmom Lauren, or are you waiting to see?
I am waiting to see. I think in leagues where the quarterback scores more points on the ground with his legs as opposed to through the air, I think that he is going to be a huge asset. I think that he has the opportunity to be a Kyler Murray like 2.0. But I think that he does. I would like to see how well that O-line holds up this year. I would like to see how well those other weapons can step up to the plate. I would like to see how Devontae Smith does in his rookie year before I kind of anoint him, the next quote Kyler Murray, which is I think a lot of people are comparing him to. So we'll see. But I do like what I've seen in him. And Dynasty, he's dynamite. So I would love to have him in Dynasty and just kind of hang on to him. Now, I'm not willing to reach for him in a redraft league at all. But I know a lot of people who are. So if you are one of those people that is really high in Jalen Hurts, go for it. It's just I'm not that risky to do it.
I feel that. Travis, I want to ask you a little bit about the Eagles before we move on to another team in position here. But you, Travis, in the last couple of years have been pretty intimately connected to the Philadelphia Eagles receiving corps. I know you took Rieger in our Whisper Nation Dynasty League. You've been pretty key on Smith as well. You've been close to it. What are you expecting this year from the Eagles positional players? To me, their receivers have gotten better, but they're still really young, which tempers my expectations. But where are you at with them, both in terms of Jalen Hurts, the weapons, and their fantasy viability this year?
Yeah, the receivers are young. Unfortunately, the offensive line is really old. So we've got to hope that can stay healthy, because last year they used, I think, like 13 different combinations on the offensive line. So that's scary. And it just doesn't help when they're trying to develop a pass play. And then the other thing is this is a completely different offense now. It's not going to be Doug Peterson's offense. I don't know what to expect out of Jalen Hurts volume-wise. We love Devonta Smith because he should be grandfathered into a ton of targets. But how many targets is that going to be? Is it going to be like Marquise Brown last year in a very run-heavy scheme? I don't think there'll be that level of run heavy that Baltimore was, but I just think there's concern there that there's not a huge ceiling. I will say that Devonta Smith is garnering great, praise from beat reporters right now as far as winning off the line. So we'll see what Jalen Hurts can do. This is going to be a guy in Devonta Smith who's probably going to get open a lot for him. But I think it's we're a year or two away from Devonta Smith's real ceiling.
The other thing I want to make note of, and why I think it's important to understand why Hurts seems to be, why you have to kind of project upwards, right? You have to kind of get in front of the wave. You got to start paddling now. And the reason for that is, where did we take, or Justin Herbert went 2 picks before, but in a single quarterback league, Justin Herbert's going significantly higher than Hurts is. Now, what's interesting is the new offensive coordinator for the Eagles was the offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts last year, for Herbert and the Chargers last year. He took over midway through the 2019 season after they fired Ken Wisenhunt, and he's ran that offense very efficiently. And so he is an offensive coordinator that knows how to. You look at the quarterbacks that he's had, right? He had a guy who couldn't stay. He had a stationary quarterback in Rivers. Then he went from that to Tyrod Taylor, who's basically just a mobile quarterback for a game. And then he immediately had to switch that game plan to fit Herbert. And he was able to do that. Not only did he do that, but he did on the fly. So now you're bringing that guy into a guy like Hurts, who we've seen the pedigree, right, that he's elevated his game to in Alabama, then going to Oklahoma. And what we saw in the end of last season, where he really took off, I think you put that and you pair it with an offensive coordinator that knows how to use them and will be able to put him in good positions. And then you add those weapons with Smith. Hopefully he does end up being who they drafted for once at the wide receiver position. But then I do think that's why you kind of can forecast a little bit of upside for Hurts.
I feel great points on this one, Johnny, Lord, and Travi as well. We had a good comment that came up just now in the chat here from JMI Sports. And everybody here in the chat, again, it's just great to have you with us, drafting alongside and asking the questions in the chat here, Whisper Nation. But JML Sports asks Gibson over Akers. And Stepmom Lauren, this is a question that we get in every mock draft that comes up. I think it's a great subject to continue analyzing as actual drafts get closer and training camp and OTAs progress. And that's around those juicy bunch of second-year running backs, the Cam Akers, the Jonathan Taylors, the Antonio Gibsons, the DeAndre Swifts, the James Robinsons, the J.K. Dobbins, all of these guys right now, second-year running backs coming in. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is probably the one that we would at least most consensus wise agree is in that number one spot in terms of talent, role, what the Colts have going on from them in terms of an offensive and offensive line perspective, unless you disagree. Moving Jonathan Taylor into that tier above, and then just taking a look at every other second-year running back who was an RB3 or better last year. Again, Gibson, Akers, Swift, Robinson, J.K. Dobbins. How are you kind of stacking up that bunch of running backs, Stepmom Lauren?
I think my favorite out of all of those is going to be Cam Akers. I like Cam Akers with the Rams, especially with Matthew. I speak English, I swear to God. Especially with Matthew Stafford. Pardon me. So I really like what he was able to do in the few games that he did well in last year, that he was fully healthy, that he played all those games. He actually blew everyone out of the water. It's very impressive when you go and look at it. I actually wrote it's a Cam Akers report card article for the Fantasy Footballers about basically looking at his 2019 season and what that means, or 2020 season and what that means for 2021. So he is actually quite impressive to me. So out of all of those, I think I like Cam Akers the best. DeAndre Swift scares me the most, especially with the addition of Jamal Williams, the lack of Matthew Stafford, and this new coaching regime that I have no idea what they're going to be doing except establishing the run. But there's another running back that's there, and that does worry me for DeAndre Swift. But would I take him in a draft? Sure. I would rather have Cam Akers. And I do like Antonio Gibson as well. I think he's going to take a step forward too. Hopefully that toe doesn't keep bothering him like it seems to be doing. But still, I think I'd take Cam Akers. I can't believe I'm taking a Rams player. I like the Rams.
And the last one, I get your take on him specifically because I think there's the most meat on the bone to chew over during these indecisive months right now. We're kind of figuring out. That's just J.K. Dobbins. We know he was so efficient. We know it's a run-heavy team. Well, they know we got Lamar Jackson. They got Gus Bus. Are those other pieces in play giving you the poopy thumbs downs?
Yeah, I don't have any faith in J.K. Dobbins, and it has nothing to do with his talent. It has to do with the Ravens. They just don't incorporate many, like single RB ones that I know J.K. Dobbins is going to be the guy. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not giving myself that headache being like, why did I draft J.K. Dobbins? Well, then don't. Go for somebody else. Because it's going to be Gus Edwards, who they just gave another contract to. It's going to be Lamar Jackson. I know that he's catching, passes right now in training camp. Whoop-de-doo. You honestly think that Lamar Jackson's going to be dumping it off to J.K. Dobbins? No, he's going to be running it in himself. So I don't buy any of it. I don't like it. It's a headache. And I'm staying away from that running back by committee. I'll look at it, and then I'll laugh at you when you take him and cry about it.
But Travis, what about
that was so salty. My goodness.
Yeah, for Stepmom Lauren coming in hot.
Very salty. My goodness.
I appreciate that flavor.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for Stepmom Lauren to put out a video where she's catching passes out of the backfield, and it's just going to take Twitter by storm. Like, people are going to go nuts.
Dude, that's actually
it is.
I might cheer for that content.
Literally anything Stepmom Lauren touches gets traction, so we'll be good there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe we can have Stepmom Lauren just run never mind. I'm gonna come with a more fully fledged idea to the next conversation.
I do just want to just jump in on the J.K. Dobbins. I know it's very popular in the industry right now to hate the J.K. Dobbins, to have hate on his take this year or on his outlook this year. And it's rightfully so. This is not a team that inspires a lot of confidence for a dominant one back. But I will say there's a bit of a mystery box with J.K. Dobbins if they do start to implement a scheme. Look, we know this offense was very vanilla last year, so much so that Lamar Jackson came out and told the press, hey, they know our plays. They're on to us. They understand what we're doing. And I think, what I've read a lot out of Baltimore is they're making a concentrated effort to try and make him a better passer. And part of that would be to take the check down and to take designed running back screens and passes out of the backfield. So not saying that, that's a lot to invest in the second round is wishes and prayers and thoughts and prayers. But I will say that it is something that is intriguing. Should the industry continue to drive J.K. Dobbins down, I think he would be a nice breakout candidate this year, just based on the efficiency metrics from last year.
And everyone's got a price, right? It's not like nobody's really on your no draft. It's just no draft anywhere near the
price. Yeah. But I mean, just Stepmom Lauren and Johnny's made this point too. there are just so many other guys that are second-year guys that I'm taking over him. Like at
Yeah.
this point, now if I get one of those guys and I come back around and he's sitting there in the third, or I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting now.
Exactly.
It just depends. And Stepmom Lauren, you always say this. It'll depend on roster construction, of course. But I just think that at that price, that's what we're talking about. Like with all those other guys, those second-year guys, that's what we're talking about.
I think those ones are really good pieces. And I want to just throw them, and I want to know last bit on the second-year running backs before we take on a different subject here. I think right now where James Robinson is being dropped to is a crazy bargain. I don't think Carlos Hyde is actually anything. I think he's just going to be a couple of touches a game. And I think Travis Etienne is going to turn more into a gadget player that they end up using. Am I smoking something on this one? Or is Travis Etienne going to take over? Is James Robinson the guy that Urban Meyer never actually wanted, and his phenomenal year last year was just a count it lucky? That's moving on. Or is there something we should actually consider here with James Robinson and his sinking ADP?
I think there's way too much chemistry, way too much history between Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne to think that in the long run for next year that Etienne is going to be only a gadget play. I think that's how he might start, but I think eventually he will finish as the RB1 on that team. I'm hoping that it might turn into something a little bit more clear, like we have in Chicago with David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen, where one is a very clear pass-catching running back, the other one is a very clear line from scrimmage back. I like that. I like that identity. I know which one that I can target based on what kind of a league that I'm in. Mm-hmm. But for me, I don't mind taking James Robinson, especially like you said, he's a huge bargain, but you have to understand that might not pan out for the entire season. That's the only thing that concerns me about that. But if he's your RB3 or flex, maybe even an RB2, if you're in a really deep league, I don't mind it so much. But I think Travis Etienne is going to be a thorn in James Robinson managers' sides.
It reminds me of something that I wrote down in my end of season notes. And these to me are like gospel because they're the hard lessons that cost me wins. And one of the pieces I wrote down 3 years ago was, if you are dealing with a running back by committee situation, I'm fine taking the presumptive lead in that back in the end of the second, third round down. I'm okay taking a guy who's not necessarily the best bet to be the lead, but has a really good shot at being that RB1 anywhere fifth round down, further on. So there's like, if James Robinson is fifth, sixth, seventh round available for me, I'm like, heck yeah. But I wouldn't really go much earlier than that unless I thought he really had a shot to take it over. But sometimes you don't know. And then all of a sudden they are the lead guy and you got him in the sixth round and it's juicy.
Super juicy.
Speaking of those guys, what do we think here about, it was just taken in the fifth round, kind of fits right into the narrative I was talking about.
My next pick is going to be juicy. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
I like how she was like, she's so ready for that.
I was, because I was like, heard it, and I was like, make your point now. But I was like, wait a minute, he's available and he's available. Like, make your point now. And I just went ahead and spit it out.
I'm excited for Stepmom Lauren's pick now. Like, who's it going to be?
Oh, it's going to be crazy.
Are we going to go wild? Are we going to?
Yeah, you might.
All
you
right.
might.
It's the Barbarians.
You're about to, Whisper Nation's about to see this live right now.
I know, it's going to be nuts. Here we go. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
She was excited about that too.
Wow.
All right.
I got to hear this.
I got to hear this.
I got to hear this.
I know Johnny needs to hear it.
Well, I said this on Fantasy Pros, so I apologize for if this is a repeat, but Josh Jacobs is dead to me. Like completely dead to me.
Amen.
So
Amen.
it's Kenyon Drake for me. And if they're going to be the RB 1A, 1B, and I can get Kenyon Drake an entire almost round after Josh Jacobs when he's my RB2, absolutely. And because he's an RB1. I mean, he has the same numbers. Now, do I think that Josh Jacobs is going to have a little bit more touches than Kenyon Drake? Sure. But I don't know who's going to be using the goal line. So give me Kenyon Drake. I'm all in. I'm all in because Josh Jacobs broke my heart. I have to plug my laptop in. Hang on 1 second. Low battery warning.
She just mic drops like that. That's how she does it.
Yeah.
She's like, and I'm out.
Yeah.
And I'm out. But most importantly, I'm plugged in, I think. Yes, I am.
Boom, there
Excellent.
you
go. Perfect. Yeah.
I trust you, Stepmom Lauren, and Johnny and I have gone back and forth on Josh Jacobs. And also full disclosure, I traded out Josh Jacobs in Dynasty for Brandon Ayuk and some picks. I'm off the Josh Jacobs train. I got him his rookie year, and I've seen what he's done from an opportunity standpoint. When Gruden wants to force feed someone, he'll do that. But I've also watched him just running efficiently, and it break my heart. And I'm like, dear God, I keep getting these touches, but you shouldn't. Is that kind of where you're looking at Josh Jacobs, or do you think that his opportunity is going to change? Where does your distaste for Josh Jacobs stem from?
I sound like such a mean person. Okay, so I struggle with him losing touches because I had Josh Jacobs on one of my teams last year, and it always boiled down to him like needing to get X amount of points in order for me to win. And like 7 times out of 10, that did not happen. So it even though he has the volume, it just was like, where are the touchdowns? What is going on? And I didn't love it. I didn't love his production. So now you take Kenyon Drake in here, who is a legitimate running back one on his own. And it bothers me for Jacobs' production. And it bothers me because he's going so high. That is what scares me, because I think this is going to be, annoyingly, a very true committee backfield, because there's still Jalen Richard is still there. They still have their fullback. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And then it's not like they're just, don't worry, we brought on Kenyon Drake, but you're still the guy. Like, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. It bothers me. Plus, he like lied to all fantasy managers. I think it was like week 14.
Oh, yeah. That was
messed with my life.
Yeah.
That was mean. And he didn't care. He laughed about it. And I was like, that's not cool, bro. That's not cool. I mean, just to give you an example. So last year with Arizona, Kenyon Drake, over 15 games, rushed 239 times. I mean, that's a lot. And you expect him to just be like, all right, hop in here for every, once in a while, catch a ball and then go back out again. No, I don't see him being like, yeah, I'll take 100 touches, 100 rushes and, have 75 targets. Like, I don't see that happening.
What I do find interesting, Stepmom Lauren, was that there were some reports that came out over her last week, and they were talking about how Kenyon Drake, well, they had asked him about the contract, obviously. So the money would tend to make you think, like, okay, they tend to use him a little bit more than expected because they paid him a good amount. And he talked about how that was the highest value on the market. Like, they were offering the most. And then it comes out like that they're planning, or Kenyon Drake said he's been told he will spend time at receiver in 2021. And you look at what, like, he was, Austin and Travis know this very well, because I used to get so upset, not only from a Cardinals perspective, but like I also had Kenyon Drake last year, but like there'd be so many times where Kenyon Drake would be open for a dump down pass and Kyler wouldn't do it. But then if it were Chase Edmonds, he would dump it off to Chase. And I was like, I don't understand it, because Drake is a good pass catcher, and it just wasn't making much sense. But I think it might have been they were trying to limit Drake's touches in case they did want to re-sign him. I think that was like, and they were a little bit worried about a knee issue. Obviously that like kind of came up last year. So yeah, I do think when you kind of follow the money trail, and then you're seeing like these headlines on, he said, just having the ability to kind of use my versatility as a weapon in the open field is something that really spoke to me. So I just think that they're planning on using him. And like you said, you can get him at a nice value because he is a good running back. Like, people just don't want to accept that, because, he started off with Adam Gase and the Dolphins and it was kind of rocky, but like this guy has produced. Like, that's the fact.
Oh,
like,
sorry, guys. I just was falling asleep. Are we still talking about the Las Vegas backfield? Can we like talk about some of these exciting players, Austin, or something? Jeez, man.
Wow.
Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs. I give Stepmom Lauren and Johnny the mic, and they just go on and on about these Vegas running backs.
That's why you brought me on. I talk a lot. What?
The launch backfield here in the Raiders. I do love this one, and I do take credit for going down this hole, because I need to know what's going on in the black hole situation over there. I think there's a lot of points that's going to happen over there. But Travis, you do bring up a good point on this one. And you here now in the 6th round, and you hadn't taken a running back. And this is fantasy football. I've been told running backs are hard to get and they're important. But you didn't get one until the 6th round. Mike Davis. So that's not a bad one to still have being available, as far as not getting a running back until the 6th round is I'm actually kind of liking that one. That's going to be impressive. Right?
I liked the 0 RB strategy until I started seeing some of the wide receivers going in this round. Like CeeDee Lamb went to DG right there. Stepmom Lauren got Cortland Sutton right here. I'm like, maybe I should have gone running back heavy, because we're still hitting on some good wide receivers. But I do I do like the 0 RB build here. Mike Davis is, in line for so much volume. And, Johnny and I were talking off air about what this offense projects to be under Arthur Smith. And, he just had Derrick Henry. Now, I'm not saying Mike Davis is Derrick Henry. I'm not saying they're going to be as successful as Tennessee, but they will try to use Mike Davis as a bell cow back there. You can believe that. And I think that's going to be good volume.
John, you laughed about that one. Is he not going to be a bell cow back? Was that about something else?
Oh, no. Sorry. I didn't laugh about that. I laughed because I sent a message and then Twitter kicked it back. This is because I was responding saying that we couldn't get any closer because it's a 14-teamer. I couldn't zoom into the screen. And then Twitter kicked it back and says, whoops, Periscopes didn't get your comment. It was probably filtered. Periscope filters anything that looks like spam. Try another. So I was like, wow, I'm spamming my own station here. This is our own channel. That's why I laughed. Sorry, not at Travis's comment. I apologize.
I'm laughing about the Mike Davis thing. I am shocked they did not get another running back.
And
it's not that I don't think that Mike Davis isn't a talented running back in the NFL, but he's not Derrick Henry. That's in Arthur Smith, they're not going to pass as much. That's bull. Like, no, they're going to be the one of the top 5. They were 4th last year in passing attempts under Matt Ryan. That's just their DNA. That's what they do. And they didn't get anyone else to make me think, oh yeah, they're going to run more this year. No, I know Mike Davis took over for Christian McCaffrey, but he could not get that much done with that role as the bell cow RB1. I wasn't that impressed. Did he do a good job as a backup? Sure. Can he be the RB1 for the Falcons and be that guy who's going to just get it done? I don't think so. Is he going to be better than Todd Gurley? Maybe. I don't know. But they were fine last year with that. So, oh, wow. I don't know.
That's the unfortunate part is we don't have to like it, but Todd Gurley got so many goal line carries.
Yeah, and that's fine. And the fact you can get him in the 6th round is unbelievable. That's why I like Mike Davis so much, is because you can get him so late.
Yeah, of that concern is baked into the ADP now.
Correct. And I like that. I'm making sure that concern stays so that his ADP doesn't go up.
I would agree with that.
I'm helping out the people.
I'm looking at Mike Davis's numbers here, and it makes me want to do a segment on running backs that we think we know, but we probably just don't. And what I mean by that is last year we talked about Philip Lindsay being a pass catching specialist. Even this offseason, I've heard people talk about J.K. Dobbins as being a pass catching specialist. And these guys actually don't get a ton of opportunity from a pass catching perspective. It's they don't. I don't think J.K. Dobbins had more than 5 targets in a single game last year. And I know that Philip Lindsay had multiple games 2 years ago where he didn't even have an attempt that went his way. I bring that up because I'm looking at Mike Davis, who in my mind does not ring pass catching specialist. And I'm looking at this guy who's gotten
he's definitely a guy that can catch
catches
passes.
the ball all the time. He had 10 targets in week 5.
That's the enticing part for me with Davis beyond. Okay, so if they can't do what they want to do, which they won't be able to, if they can't be like Tennessee, well, it won't really matter for Davis because he's still going to be involved in the passing game. He is definitely going to be a guy that's used in the passing game for them. So, I project Atlanta to be most like what they've done for the last 5-6 years, is bad on defense, and they'll have to throw a ton to stay in the game. And if that's the case, that's fine for Mike Davis because he's a pass catching back, and that's basically what Carolina was doing in a lot of games last year, was catching up. So I think Mike Davis is fine. I don't think he's anything special. In Dynasty, I invested in guys that are behind him, like Javian Hawkins. Not that Hawkins is some special talent, but there's definitely a lot of paths to other guys being involved there. But right now, he's the guy. You could book him in the 6th round, as Stepmom Lauren said. And right now, that's great value for a starting running back.
Heck yeah.
I want to ask Stepmom Lauren, you don't believe that Arthur Smith is telling the truth when he comes out and he came out and said that I'm going to run the exact same offense that I ran in Tennessee here, and I'm going to use all my running backs because I don't have a Derrick Henry. I'm going to use all 3 of them to get the job done.
I'm gonna harness my inner basketball fan. I think if I were in the stands, and I'm gonna say this: scoreboard, just like Travis was talking about. They're not gonna have the luxury of being able to pound and ground and waste all this time hanging on to the football. I don't think so, because the points that Travis brought up is that their defense still sucks, and they're gonna have to use.
Let me ask you a question. How do you protect a defense if it's bad?
I don't know. Draft DJ Chark. That's what I do.
This is a popsicle.
Well,
Johnny's
the answer
trying to
is
make the case
you run the ball and
Yeah,
you keep.
sure.
Listen, I'm
you keep the
not
ball
saying
more.
don't draft the guy. I'm not saying don't draft the guy, but make sure your expectations are realistic. That he is going to be, if he's the only guy and if he gets those carries, he's going to be one of the most consistent running backs that you can have on your team. What is his ceiling going to look like? I'm not sold on his ceiling, but he's probably going to have a really consistent floor. So the fact that you can get him in the 6th round is pretty unbelievable. But I'm not buying that this is going to be a just like a Derrick Henry kind of situation, which is what I've heard simply because of Arthur Smith. I still think that this is going to be a pass first offense. And I think that is going to be going through Calvin Ridley, and it's going to be going through Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts. Now, I do believe that Mike Davis will be involved in said passing game because they did lose a very big piece on their offense, and they're going to have to try to refigure this whole thing out with Julio Jones gone.
I agree. I got to go with Stepmom Lauren on this one. It's like the famous quote, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Every team wants to run the ball. Every team wants to control the clock. Every team wants to run the pace and put the defense.
And every team would be happy with the efficiency that Tennessee has had with Derrick Henry.
And then you get down 2
would
scores,
love that.
You get down 2 scores, and what are you going to do?
I will.
I just hope people don't expect
that
it to be Derrick Henry. They don't expect it to be that way just because of the nature of that offense. I think is far less balanced than what Tennessee had. Tennessee was also not that balanced either, but
Sure.
It's way more on one side for the Falcons in historically over the last however many years. I don't have the numbers in front of me, otherwise I would spit them out like I sounded smart, but I don't, so I don't sound smart. But I'm afraid that this is his ADP is going to just start creeping up because people are like, oh my God, well, Arthur Smith, or they didn't, they're not picking up any other running backs, and that worries me for his ADP, and it also worries me for people who want to buy into it, thinking that he's going to be this, crazy throwing Josh Norman out into the stands, which I'm not sure he'll do.
Speaking of interesting ADPs, I agree with all those points. I think that's a great take on the Atlanta situation over here. And I want to bring it over to another high.
Hold on. I'm going to go to something really on brand for me. Are y'all ready?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were maybe going to go there.
Want to dominate the run. That's the headlines coming out of Texans camp right now.
I did that just for you, Johnny and Travis, because you know how much I love David Johnson.
Well, I heard you bring him up on 2-point stance last week, and I was like, no way, she's doubling down even this year too.
I can't quit him, but like that's not, it's not used to me. That's not good. That's not a thing for me. Like normally when you hurt me and don't do well, like you're dead to me. Like Josh Jacobs is dead to me. But David Johnson, I cannot quit him. I cannot quit
so hard. It is so. You know what? I was just about to get off the boat completely, and then his ADP is just so criminally low.
I know.
And then his schedule came out, and he's got one of the top 5 easiest schedules for running backs. And I'm like, why are you doing this to me?
I mean,
why is the fan? It's
right?
like I don't know if it's a trap or not. Like I don't know. But
if you can get him so late, why not? He can be a flex opportunity. You know what I'm saying? It's so hard. And like someone is going to have to emerge, right? Yeah. Like someone is going to have to emerge in that running back room. They cannot be a perfect split between all of the running backs. They're going to go with the hot hand. They're going to go with that guy. I love Phillip Lindsay. He's actually like the youth in that room, which is sad because he's like 27. But I mean, like Mark Ingram and Rex Burkhead, and there's 4 other ones. It's like,
is this?
Give me David Johnson.
Rex Burkhead.
Is this?
I know.
You say someone's got to emerge, and that's a great point. Someone will, and maybe the person who's actually going to emerge isn't somebody we even know right now, like a Salvin
exactly.
Ahmed.
It might be me. I might go, practice routes and
Jordan Howard and Matt Breida. Is it Jordan Howard or Matt Breida? And they were going around that same ADP last year.
God, I remember that too.
And it was Myles Gaskin and Salvin Ahmed for a period.
It feels like that was so long ago, doesn't it?
I don't know.
Because this year was so weird and long and obnoxious.
And you know what else feels so long ago? It feels like T. Higgins being the hotness in Cincinnati felt so long ago.
Oh, did he get drafted yet?
He did.
Bummer.
Yeah, I know.
Josh had brought it up, saying the T. Higgins disrespect has gone too far. He dropped that.
I love T. Higgins.
Right here.
I love T. Higgins.
I will be honest. I took Damian Harris in the 7th because I thought I was going to be able to get
Johnny.
I appreciate that. I thought I was going to be able to get T. Higgins in the 8th, which is why, and I didn't think I would get Harris in the 8th because Jacob Bley would take him from me. And then he ended up getting T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins. I think he's super undervalued. People are so far on Jamar Chase, which I get. He's a really good wide receiver, but we got to not forget what happened last year and what we saw, the connection between Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. And not to mention, like, T. Higgins is a tree.
It doesn't matter if they both have chemistry, because guess what, guys? All
T.
three
Higgins
of
is
those
a
wide
tree.
receivers, all three of those wide receivers can be productive and can be drafted at where they're going at ADP, because guess what? That team, once again, like the Falcons, terrible defense, going to have to throw a F ton, and you can have basically what I've been, a lot of people have been calling the Cincinnati Bengals are the Cowboys of the North, because they're going to have
Cowboys of the North
so much. And I just think,
no.
Yeah,
How
Higgins.
Did Travis not laugh at that? That's like up his alley. Come on,
because I'm trying to finish my take here, Johnny. But yeah, that I just think that everybody needs to chill out. Like it's the same kind of feast or famine mindset you have when you're trying to think about being successful in the industry. Let's say, just because somebody else is successful doesn't mean you're not successful. And so that is how we should view the Cincinnati Bengals wide receiving. Yeah, exactly. The wide receiving core in Cincinnati can all be successful, especially at ADP. And Higgins is now getting slept on majorly, and I think that's I'd pass on Boyd because I don't think his ceiling is what Higgins or Chase's is, but I think it's going to be like Chase leads the team in receiving yardage and probably catches, but Higgins is it can easily be the touchdown leader on that team, just how big he is in the red zone. And they don't have a tight end. Not one that they like, at least.
Yeah. And we do know that Joe Burrow. That's the thing. I think Joe Burrow will actually be that quarterback.
Stepmom Lauren's QB1 in this mock draft right now.
Yeah, I was actually going between Joe Burrow and Hurts and which one I wanted to go with. And I went with Hurts because I'm a fan. But I do believe that Joe Burrow, I will probably have Joe Burrow on a lot of my fantasy teams this year because I do think people kind of forget what he was doing. And like Travis said, that defense is bad. And what do I do know that Zach Taylor loves to throw the ball, and that's not changing. I also know that Joe Burrow loves to throw the ball, and that's not changing. So I
Joe
do
Burrow's
think
gonna look like he's using a shake weight. It's just going to be like all this time, throw. Shake weight commercial.
Lord have mercy. What did I just hear in my ear hole? That is crazy.
That's what you just heard. That's what's up this way.
So just a reminder, everybody, we've got 21 watching. Let's get those likes up if you haven't already, like on whatever platform, because these people that are drafting here with Stepmom Lauren, Johnny, and myself are entering basically a raffle for Stepmom Lauren to give them a spot in our listener.
Yeah, y'all better lavish me with compliments, and whoever gives me I'm kidding, totally kidding.
She is not biased at all, but make sure you're giving her all the honey.
Whoever agrees with me more. I'm totally kidding.
Give her a flower.
I may not
flowers, don't forget them.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to. Is it my turn? No. Okay, good.
There is and that needs to be said again. There is a huge prize on the line in here. Whoever drafts the best, as selected by Stepmom Lauren, gets a coveted spot into the Whisper Nation Listener League, won last year by Jake Blizzy, drafting in the 4th spot. We had a lot of great folks involved in that. We're going to be doing other opportunities to get a spot.
Who took Logan Thomas?
TG 1981.
Sorry, I totally interrupted you, Austin, but it just my heart was just broken. I could hear it cracking.
Here we go. Easy Daddy. I wish we could flash that on the screen. He's in the sleeper chat. Says,
it's up right here.
P.S. Ryan O'Reilly is my favorite hockey player too.
All right, Easy Daddy. Now we're talking.
And Eric Zubert is actually up in Canada. He always comes in and says greeting from Canada. So he's a big hockey guy. He's got to be. You're born with a hockey stick in your hand.
That's my man. I like it.
So
woohoo.
There we go. And Benny Blanco, be careful. We won't ban you, but we're going to get close. I appreciate your awareness. We're just going to keep it in that good spot. Thank you, brother, on that one. Yeah. And
rocking and rolling. Stepmom Lauren, do you have any early leaders right now, or are you just kind of letting it pan out before you?
You know, there
take a look
was
at these other
I
teams?
am letting it pan out. And not just because he happened to like Ryan O'Reilly, but I'm really digging Easy Daddies. I swear to God, I am.
Yeah.
The other one I was looking at was Drew Kalu, but he's now auto drafting, so that's unfortunate. But then he also picked up Joe Mixon, garbage, and Josh Jacobs, dead to me. So that's sad. Yeah, so far that's really been kind of, I haven't looked to like eyeball close here. I'm more worried about my own stuff, but because I'm selfish like that. But now that I do have my core going, and I have some players in my queue, I am eyeballing. So feel free to comment about how amazing I am. And the boys can put it up.
I do want to give a shout out to the George Kittle selection there in the third. Travis helped me
Thank
get
you.
George Kittle last year, and I took him at the end of the second. And I think that we're sleeping on him a little bit because he was hurt so much. But
Sleep away.
He was the only tight end even close to a points per game as Travis Kelce was, who was so far ahead as the number one. Kittle is still in that category, but he's being drafted as if he's not. And he's 100% healthy. He's not old. He's got a great situation he's coming into. I feel comfortable taking Kittle almost anywhere I take Kelce, and he's going significantly later, though.
That's interesting. Yeah. I like Marty 88 here grabbing Dallas Goedert in the 7th. That's pretty awesome. And he went ahead and grabbed his second quarterback in the 10th round with Jared Goff. Chai tea, not my fave, but that's okay. We're gonna
Chai tea, not my fave.
You know Jared Goff, Chai tea?
Yeah, or like the electric Prius in Detroit Motor City. Good luck.
Hey, that they're gonna be, they're gonna be turning into Electric City soon. They are converting all of their fleet to electric cars. So,
it's more of a metaphor as opposed to like the loud muscle car of gasoline combustion engines that are like grrr, like Matthew Stafford and the Lions wannabe, and then you have like your little like humming like toy car that's
I think that's
like pulling into Detroit. That's more of a metaphor than it is like an actual of their vehicular transportation. Yeah. Or we can do like chai tea and a double shot espresso. Jared Goff is like Teddy Bridgewater, which is chai tea.
I want to do a barista comp for every player in the draft pool. Like who's the red eye? Who's the coffee with a shot of espresso? Christian McCaffrey, maybe. I don't know. But that's
I will say that maybe Mom Lauren was on to something though with like the whole Jared Goff being, an electric car. Because what if the times are changing, and Detroit starts coming around and Jared Goff is the guy that leads that. He's just like, just like they're starting to lead over to electric cars. Come on over. I know you guys want to join this Detroit bandwagon of fun. We know that you guys want to see him succeed.
What?
Darling, no, don't do it.
What has anybody ever called fun in the Detroit Lions at the same time?
The Detroit Tigers have drafted more playoff winning quarterbacks than the Detroit Lions have.
Hey.
That's a real statement because the Detroit Tigers drafted Patrick Mahomes. They have drafted more playoff winning quarterbacks than the Detroit Lions have. The Detroit
That's a very good little tidbit. As the wife of a Lions fan.
Title more recently than the Detroit Lions.
Jeff's a Lions fan?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers in your state, Stepmom Lauren. It's not a northern state. They have won an NFC North title more recently than the Detroit Lions have. It is not the Lions. I'm sorry. It's just not. It hasn't. It never will be.
It's like I apologize, Stepmom Lauren. Every show, usually Johnny goes on about DeAndre Swift, and then Austin has to reel him back in and say, "Look, the Lions suck. This is what we're basically a Lions show." I feel like the Lions sports talk radio is the same thing, where they get really excited about their team and then have to realize that they suck so bad and reel it back in.
Oh, sad day. Yeah, my husband is a Lions fan. I actually have a signed Matt Stafford helmet up here somewhere that I gave to my husband for Christmas, and then I took it back and put it in my office.
Hey,
I'm nice like that.
That's the
I'm
best.
such a loving wife. But yeah, and he's even at this point now with the Lions where he's like, okay, whatever. Like it's just so depressing. Like players go there to metaphorically die. It's sad. All
right, we got a question for you then, Steph.
Boy.
You're a great person to ask us. You're a fan of Bley. Do you guys like Mark Andrews or TJ Hawkinson more? Which tight end will take the next step, whether it's in target percentage, et cetera, et cetera? Asked by Josh.
Good question, Josh.
That is a really good question, Josh. I think Mark Andrews. I think I'm going to give the nod to Mark Andrews here, but I think that TJ Hawkinson is going to cost you less in a draft. I think Mark Andrews might go a little bit higher than TJ Hawkinson, but I think they're going to have very similar years, and they may finish back to back from one another. Just the thing is I'm up. Hang on, I'm up. What do I do? Hang on, hold on. Everybody pause.
This
Everybody
is
pause.
unbelievable. Travis stealing my tight end over here
There we
after
go.
he already has Tunyon. Any unbelievable.
See, the Cat's pajamas went with the wrong Smith. Do you really want to get Jonnu Smith? That's going to be playing for the Patriots, along with Hunter Henry, who's going to be with the Patriots.
He's hurt.
With Mac Jones.
Hunter's
we know. McCorkle Jones, I don't know how that's really going to work for everyone because it ain't going to be Cam Newton. I'm telling you that right now. So I don't know. Give me Irv Smith, who has solid potential.
Now, I want to ask, what was the headline just on Sleeper? We're drafting on Sleeper here. We like Sleeper. We pay attention to the alerts they share. And the Irv Smith update was Irv Smith not expected to have an expanded role. And I was like, what kind of update is this for a 22-year-old looking great tight end? How can you just come out and say not expanded role?
There's a couple things here. One, they're a super run-heavy team, and they have Thielen and Jefferson who dominate the target market share. So we did a little bit of the tight ends, and we talked a little bit about a potential breakout for Irv Smith. The problem is that we just don't see enough volume vacated by Rudolph leaving, because Rudolph was fine, but like Kirk Cousins didn't necessarily love Rudolph either. He loved his two wide receivers on the outside. So the increase, even if Irv were to take all of that, would move him to, I think, 13 or 14% target market share. And that's just like not enough for a tight end to make a difference, especially in a field where tight ends don't make a lot of difference. I love Irv Smith as a prospect. I think as a guy who could run up the seam and just rip apart defenses, he's great. I just don't see this offense being one that's going to cater to his strengths when you have a Justin Jefferson and an Adam Thielen, who, by the way, Adam Thielen is their tight end in the red zone because that's who Kirk Cousins loves in the red zone is Adam Thielen. So that's just that's my personal leaning on Irv Smith, just because there's just not a projected opportunity there.
It's almost just like being honest.
Yeah.
Can I go back to the Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson? Let me just finish my sentence that I was going there before I interrupted myself. So, Mark, I honestly think they're going to finish very similar. So when it comes to value, I may target TJ Hawkinson here because we do know that Jared Goff is not afraid to go after his tight ends. Look at Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett when they were when he was with the Rams. So that doesn't bother me. Also, there's like no one else to catch the ball. Okay, except like Tyrell Williams. Yeah, Rashad Perryman, Tyrell Williams, Quintus Cephas, I get it. It's going to be TJ Hawkinson. He's going to be the leading target receiver on that team. Now, can they connect? I'm not sure. How much are they going to run the ball? I'm not sure. So those question marks,
the ADOT on those targets,
yes, those question marks are the only thing that's keeping Mark Andrews just a little bit ahead of TJ Hawkinson for me. It would not surprise me if Hawkinson finishes ahead of him, though. So go with whichever one you think is best. That was a great question. And your instincts are right to like both of them.
Great response.
When you look at Jared Goff with tight ends, when you only had like one, because oftentimes with the Rams, they would play 50-50, right? Because they had Everett and they had Higbee. But when they only had one, that tight end finished as like a tight end 10, like every single time. And more often times than not, they were like a top 4 tight end. And so I do believe, because they do have a lack of weapons, that he will be one of the biggest target share or target opportunities on that team. And I do think that their plan is to run a lot. Like, I do think that they will run a lot behind that offensive line. It is improved and it is good. They are good at run blocking. And so I do think that we could see a lot of that, a lot of quick passes, because they don't have, a plethora of talent at the wide receiver, or it's young, although I hope Rashad Perriman can actually stick there.
6'2".
I'm telling you, dude, get on board. You like the pieces. You like the pieces at Detroit. It's gonna all come together. And
we'll go off on Rashad Perriman many times, but I'm also aware of what will probably happen. That doesn't mean I won't keep my fingers crossed. This, though, is the part of the show where we do start talking about these deep dive tight ends. And I wanted to know if there's any other bits that Stepmom Lauren, I know she's got her pick here coming up in just a second, but it's always the same dance we go through, which is the high upside. This year, they're going to have an elevated role on their offense, tight end, better than just a streamable one. We got Whisper Nation in the chats right now starting to make a couple of points here. Cody Palmer said, don't sleep on Tyler Higbee this year. I thought it was Tyler Higbee. And then right underneath that, Matt Grant in the chat says, why does everyone forget about OJ Howard? Maybe because he plays for Tampa Bay, where they got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Rob Gronkowski. Plus, he's hurt. But OJ Howard is very talented.
I think Travis says it best here. Just Bruce Aaron hates him.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So OJ Howard.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, if Courtland Sutton can stay on the field and stay healthy and Drew Lock can pull his head out of his ass, I think that Noah Fant is going to take a major step forward. Now, I understand that might be low-hanging fruit, may not be really considered a low tight end that could really finish super high because Fant is pretty good. But I think that with a full complement, a full arsenal that they can have at on their offense. So I'm up. Hang on. Hold on.
Yeah, I was about to ring you.
Yeah, no, I got you. Draft you thing. Come on. Hold on. Let me get my screen here. No, time's up. Yeah, there we go.
You wanted Marlon Mack? Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I think people are sleeping on it.
It's a wonderful pick. So yeah, I think that Noah Fant can really prove that he is an elite tight end. Well, I don't want to put him in the same Travis Kelce. That's usually what people think of when I say elite tight end, but I think he can be very, very good. If he can stay healthy. There's a lot of ifs though. Like Drew Lock needs to not throw so many interceptions. Teddy Bridgewater needs to target him if he's the starting quarterback, and Courtland Sutton has to stay on the field. I think Denver may surprise people if those things can come together.
I definitely. Johnny, Travis, any other tight ends that are starting to emerge? I think Johnny, you talked about Gesicki recently, and is there anybody new that we should be paying attention to right now, or it's the similar bag?
I mean, my two favorite right now are Tyler Higbee and Anthony Ferkser are my two favorite later rounds. Daddy. The Ferkter. Those are
what
my
about
two
Tim
favorite.
Tebow, y'all? Duh. No,
no,
totally kidding.
We're just trying to keep him low so we can keep him.
I'd like to pitch it back to Stepmom Lauren on Blake Jarwin. We know he was a guy last year coming in.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be back from injury. Are you feeling like especially right here, he's worth the shot. I feel like in these later rounds, I think he's a guy that we, post-hype sleeper kind of thing situation going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Why not? Because these are the rounds that you can do that. You can take somebody that is what we call a dart throw or a flyer for sure. Why not? I understand. It's like, no, it's Dalton Schultz. Okay, whatever. No, I don't buy that. But
yeah,
can he possibly do it? Sure, why not? And if it doesn't hit, then whatever, you drop him. No big deal. Go for it.
We always say you do have to have a couple of players.
I'm not buying a lot of things right now. Listen to me. I've been so salty today. I'm like, I don't buy that. I don't believe the coaches. Meh. I'm going to complain a lot. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm usually much nicer than this.
Stepmom Lauren going into
got Todd Gurley. I didn't mean to. It put me on auto draft, and I
just sniped all those people in the back. They were definitely going after him too.
Yeah, Todd Gurley. I know. So Cole Beasley was who I was going to pick with this pick right here. Just so everybody knows, I was going with Cole Beasley.
And Cole Beasley was the name I was trying to remember when I was talking about PPR heroes. So thank you for bringing him back.
You are welcome.
The front of my brain. Any other late round flyers Whisper Nation should be aware of? We're getting to the end of the
with this question too, Austin. Late round question: is it better to get emergency RBs that do well in PPR to Rico and James White types, or go for the handcuffs? What about a guy like Quadri Olson? Johnny, you want to? Yeah. Or Stepmom Lauren?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think whichever. This is going to come down to what you feel the most comfortable with, because the last thing you want to do is be like, oh, I wish I would have drafted that guy, when your gut told you to go one way or the other. When it comes to instead of using handcuffs, I like to say insurance players. When it comes to insurance players, like the best strategy is you don't necessarily want to draft your own insurance player or your own handcuff. You draft somebody else's. So if somebody else's is available, you go and grab that guy, because that is a lot more valuable. It's trade bait if that person ends up, that the starting running back ends up getting hurt. There's a lot you can do with that. I think that those players that are way down on the list will likely be on the waiver wire. So I don't know. That's a really good question now that I think about it. I think that I might end up going for the PPR production as opposed to going for an insurance policy. But I could be convinced otherwise.
Maybe it depends on the insurance policy, what's available. who the flyer is.
Right.
Yeah, I think we don't speak enough on handcuffs being actual handcuffs. Like, we have to look at the backfield, and the problem is like Johnny's talked about this. JJ Zacharyson has done a ton of studies on this. Like, we never really know who the handcuff is as much as we think we do. We tend to think it's a guy, and then all of a sudden a Mike Davis happens or something crazy happens where we're like, oh, this is actually the guy, instead of a Reggie Bonifant, so to speak. So I think there's just situations that end up happening. But I think it depends on roster build too. Like, if you went RB like 0 or heavy wide receiver at the beginning, maybe you want more guys. You want more of your backups to solidify your running back core to kind of help it out.
I did want to mention real quick. I was so glad. I was about to get freaked out a little bit because I thought Grant was going to give up my last round pick. I wanted to get Olsen because I wanted to bring him up and say he's actually a guy that I would start targeting later on in drafts because when you're talking, we brought up the fact like Mike Davis isn't the biggest running back in the world. If you look at who has the closest kind of build to a Derrick Henry, it would be Quadri Olsen. This guy's 6'1", 228 pounds. Derrick Henry's obviously a little bit bigger than that. I think Derrick Henry is like 240. And he's over 6 feet tall. So, and they've also said, Arthur Smith came out and said that he had a really good OTA and that he was looking good out there. So it does seem like Quadri Olsen could be that goal line guy. And then with some upside, if he does get, so I like taking a late round stab at him because if he's nothing, he's just like a handcuff, or whatever, you could drop him. But the upside is that Atlanta could run the ball a lot, and it could be Quadri Olsen as that other guy. So I do think there is value there.
That's kind of an exciting point there, Johnny, right? It's almost like we're talking about insurance policies. We're talking about other PPR wide receivers, but maybe another avenue to take a look at is running backs who have a chance of being the lead dog. We might call those ones handcuffs, but actually looking at a couple of situations, it's like, that some guy is going to be the handcuff. He's not going to supplant like Brian Hill is not going to jump Derrick Henry.
Yeah, who can steal the job?
Yeah, who can take the job? And the Quadri Olsen one is a great mention there. Like, it should be Mike Davis. It'll probably be Mike Davis. I love where Travie got him there in the 6th round. But there is a real world, and it's not too far-fetched to think that he does lose that job to a younger, up-and-comer guy who had a great offseason, right?
Yeah.
So identify those situations early on, and then know at the end who those top tier flyers for you could be. Because I think Stepmom Lauren, who's going to be making the winner of this draft here at the end of it, brought up, and that was such a good point of you just didn't necessarily know which guy is going to be the lead dog.
Yeah.
All right, so we get Stepmom Lauren is back preparing for her selection here, but we gotta maybe I'll pitch it to you, Johnny, and then you, Austin, on just a team that's standing out to you from this field right now that you've kind of seen that she may select here, that you think might have an early lead here.
Well, for me, I didn't need to go further than looking at the number 1 team. Took it right off the box here, an easy daddy dropping at the 1-1. And here's why that one caught my eye so well. It's got such a solid starting lineup as is. Patrick Mahomes is the number 1 quarterback. We all know that. This is a super flex situation, so that automatically gives you a leg up. But then my question would be like, well, you didn't take another quarterback then until the 9th round. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's actually going to be the starting guy on a team with weapons where they want him to be the quarterback leading them into the playoffs. He's not the insurance policy for the first time in a while. We're going to get to see Fitzpatrick be Fitzpatrick. We haven't seen him be able to do that in a long time. So I'm actually stoked about that value as Fitzpatrick as a real viable quarterback for you. And it's your number 2 behind Mahomes. Like, that's nasty. Calvin Ridley had like 1,400 yards last year, and Julio Jones is gone. I think that even gets even better. And then pairing up with an Odell Beckham or a Chenault, who's gotten more hype out of OTAs than any other player I've seen thus far. And then Ruggs. Travis, we talk about the upside of Ruggs there. Like, I think he's great from the wide receiver spot. You'd think then his running backs are probably suffering. DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, Trey Sermon. Those starting 2, it's looking like 2 starting running backs there, and Swift, Williams with upside. Sermon, I know you are aware of what he could be for the 49ers. He's a depth piece along with Ahmed. So this is actually, it's a 14-team league, and he's not thin. You know what I mean? Hawkinson is his tight end. He's actually pretty solid most places. No real holes with some upsides. So I'm really liking there. But there's a couple of other good teams. I'll let Johnny jump in there, but that's my first one that I wanted to mention.
I'm really impressed with some of the teams in this one. I'm trying to figure out which one I like.
It's too bad because now Stepmom Lauren's here. And
Saved by Stepmom Lauren here.
Sorry about that. So I don't know if y'all know or not, but the world is ending.
Oh.
Yeah, according to my dogs. There's a thunderstorm outside, and they're like dying. They're dying. So this is Jack.
Hey, Jack. What's up, Jack?
He's a Pomeranian, I swear to God, but he got his summer cut. So he's I don't know if you can tell, but he is shaking like a leaf. He's freaking out.
He's faking. He just wants to help draft or grade these.
Yeah.
He just wanted on
Go
camera.
ahead. Go ahead, Johnny. You finished your thought.
Well, it was Whisper Nation. While we're talking, I want to know what Whisper Nation also thinks on who did the best. We had Matt Grant here, or Donnie Tubb saying Donflict won this one for sure once again. Not biased at all, I'm sure.
Yeah. Do you think Donnie has any interest in Donflict? Do you think that there's any kind of linkage there?
Zero. None.
But Donflict got a good team too. I like Easy Daddy right off the bat, but Johnny, please finish. You're saying.
I think I might like Easy Daddy as well. He has some really good pieces. But if I didn't choose Easy Daddy, I would probably go with. I like this 3 spot here. You got Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins, Najee Harris, Terry McLaurin, Mark Andrews, Carter, Deontay Johnson, James Conner. I'm not a fan of James Conner this year, but that's, an 8th round pick. Danny Dimes, who I think we could actually see an uptick. Bateman, always, one of the more interesting rookies, and he got him pretty late. I like this team. I think this team is pretty solid, and it's fun. There's a lot of upside. He's got that double dip with the Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews there. You know how I like my double dip? Got that Najee Harris. That's the upside. I like it.
I like 1 through 4. And then,
yeah, I gotta agree with you that I really liked that team too, Johnny. With the Lamar Jackson and DeAndre Hopkins, that was a standout for me. We just almost lost power. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm still here, right?
Yeah, you're still here. Yeah.
Let me go ahead and in case the power goes out and my internet goes out, let me just go ahead and say who won.
So
and
much
it's not
pressure.
not because of your fantastic compliment, which I do love, but for me, this one goes to Easy Daddy. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Easy
There you
Daddy.
go.
Congratulations. Woo!
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Let me tell you why. I like that you did not overthink this draft. Nothing about this was too cute. You didn't try to do anything too fancy. Patrick Mahomes 101. Come on, you can't get any better than that. Calvin Ridley, he's going to be a wide receiver 1 again because he was last year. DeAndre Swift, I like too. Jamal Williams, Javonte Williams, I really like too. Here's what's really sneaky about Javonte Williams is that Melvin Gordon may be facing a suspension this year. So it's going to be his backfield, and there's no Phillip Lindsay left. So I'm very, very curious to see what he's going to do there. I like how you have faith in OBJ. I do as well. I'm a believer. You have a lot of rookies in here, which is nerve-wracking. But again, Jeff Wilson Jr. is hurt too. So you went ahead and picked up Trey Sermon in the 7th round, which is pretty dang good. Lots of good news about Laviska Shenault coming up, which I love. And you got my favorite, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that's what sealed the deal for me is when you picked him up. Adam Troutman's another one. I think that people are kind of sleeping on here too. One I probably should have brought up when you mentioned sleeping on tight ends. I think that people are sleeping on him, and I slept on him myself in this draft like an idiot that I am. Also, I do love the Salvon Ahmed, however you say his last name. James Palmer, sneaky flyer that you picked up there. Well played. I like this whole team. I love this team. Well done, Easy Daddy.
Right on. Stepmom Lauren, thank you so much for judging and being a part of this mock draft with us, getting a lot of support here from Whisper Nation in the chat here it is
always such a blast to come on with you guys. And for anyone who doesn't know like our history, I've known Johnny and Travis for like ever now, and they're like my brothers. I absolutely adore them. They made the monster that I am today behind a microphone and in front of a camera. This is like their fault. So you can blame them for all of this.
We'll take that credit.
And I'm sorry my dogs had to like jump in and
no, it's fantastic.
Yeah, so this is Chewy. This is Jack.
Yeah,
Chewy
Chewy
is,
and Jack are now hosting the Fantasy Whispers.
Yeah.
We've been booted
Yep.
off our show.
I've
So
also-
this is Johnny and this is Travis. Although
Yeah, there we
Travis,
go.
Chewy is 17 years old. He is an old man.
Oh wow.
He's a young buck. But yeah, they're not happy with the thunderstorm because apparently it's Armageddon and we're all gonna die. They want you to know this.
Oh my God.
Prepare.
I did not learn very much in marketing and my marketing class in college, Stepmom Lauren, but I did remember one thing that they said: always put puppies in your ads because people love dogs, and it will uptick on your advertisement. So thank you, we appreciate you once again.
You're so welcome.
We want to make sure that you have time to go and put the boards up in front of the windows from the Armageddon that Chewy let us know about. But hey, Whisper Nation, make sure you follow along with Stepmom Lauren. She is an analyst, a podcaster, writer, and storyteller for the Fantasy Footballers, NBC Sports Edge, Fantasy Pros, and the Football Guys, as well as just fire on the Twitter. So make sure you catch her wherever you prefer. And Stepmom Lauren, is there anything else you'd like to let Whisper Nation know before we better do?
Yeah, I'm normally not this salty. I'm so sorry I was salty on this podcast. I feel like I had some fire takes there and I was like, I don't buy it. Meh, meh, meh. I'm usually a very nice person. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Perhaps it's because of Armageddon. I don't know. But yes, please come and find me. Come ask me your questions. Talk to me, chit chat. I love talking football. I love getting to know all of you. It's a wonderful community we have. It's one of the reasons I love this so much. And I'm lucky enough to call this my full-time job. And I do this because I love to do it, but I do it mostly because I love hanging out with you guys. And just, come hit me up. Let me know. And that's on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and also YouTube. And I have a website, stepmomlauren.com. You guys can find all of my latest work on there. I update that once a week. So yeah, all my stuff goes on there. It's a lot easier to find it when it's in one place.
Links in the description of this video. So links are in there as well.
And don't Google search Stepmom Lauren. Or if you do, don't go to page 2. That's not me.
Yeah.
That's another one. That's
page one
a different
material,
one.
all right?
Yeah, page one material.
I got there, man. That was hard work. I got there myself.
Well said.
Not that other
Well said. Johnny, Travis, any closing thoughts, Whisper Nation?
No, go get the draft kit on pre-sale. If you're going to get the draft kit anyway this summer, you might as well go over to the fantasywhispers.com right now and get it for $10 instead of $15. It's a $5 saving on already an industry great price there. So head on over to the fantasywhispers.com and get the draft kit today.
All right. Johnny, any closing words?
Just one more time, appreciate Stepmom Lauren so much for coming on the show and everything she does.
On behalf of Stepmom Lauren, Johnny Game Time Hicks, Big Travie, I'm Austin Sear with the Fantasy Whispers. We're out.
Peace.
Peace.
Right here.
Oh, hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you like what you saw, go ahead and hit subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified anytime we drop new content or go live. And if you're still not sold yet, check out one of these videos.